I did my disciplinary literacy resource on a TED Talk video teaching science. We're teaching it wrong. In this video, Mr. Danny, a high school science teacher, explains how science should be taught in a classroom. I used YouTube to find my resource, and it was difficult to find a video at first because most of the videos either gave an example of early childhood development or an example of reading and writing. I found disciplinary literacy to be universal because it can not only be used in English and writing, but also in math and science. And I found this to be true because what was in the text, Mr. Danny was also explaining the importance, for example, the importance of engagement and modeling so students can comprehend. He also made an example of how students can engage by using some of the informal and academic knowledge that they acquire. I chose this video because I need help to improve my engagement in the classroom. And also, I could relate to what Mr. Danny was talking about because I have an incident with a parent, and she was trying to decide if her daughter should either drop or stay in my class. Now, to make the story short, they decided to keep it, but the parent was asking for any tips on how to improve her daughter's grade. Well, there was a comment made that science is easy because all it is vocabulary and memorization. Well, as Mr. Danny explained, science is not taught that way anymore, and it shouldn't be. And I had an example, a perfect example of what Mr. Danny was talking about. I had another incident where a student in class made a reference about cancer and mitosis and asked me if a cure for cancer could go in hand by fixing the mitosis or the regeneration of cells. Now, to me, that is more comprehension and academic knowledge because they were able to use some of the terms that they learned in class to come up with an idea or to solve a problem. Now, some of his examples may have not been research-based because he was giving more of a lecture, but I think it is research-based because some of the terms that he talked about were in the text, like, for example, academic and informal knowledge. He also suggested that he use modeling instruction by being very specific with some of the instructions he gave whenever they were doing some of the labs. Now, for this resource, if I would modify it, I would not modify it because I agree with Mr. Danny is saying. In order for students to grasp some of the ideas, they have to be engaged. If they're not engaged, they're going to be bored and probably would not want to take my class. And like the comment that was made with the parent, science shouldn't be about memorization, or should it be just about vocabulary? In order for students to understand how the world works, they need not to only understand what some of the words mean, but how they can use some of those words in order so they could communicate and exchange ideas with one another. That's why I chose this resource, and that's why I like this resource, because I could also relate to Mr. Danny.